On November 19th, 1998, the world was introduced to Half-Life, developed and published by Valve. It was a progenitor of the modern first-person shooter, inspiring titles such as Counter-Strike and Day of Defeat, but it also debuted one of the most enigmatic antagonistic forces in gaming, the G-Man. Described as a sinister, interdimensional bureaucrat in the marketing materials for Half-Life 2 Episode 1, the G-Man appears and disappears at will, manipulating the characters into fulfilling his mysterious agenda. If you're hearing all of this and you're like, this isn't new, you dingus, then congratulations, you're likely a very depressed, very anxious person in their late 20s or early 30s. It is now 2021, and while we've seen the surprise release of Half-Life Alyx in early 2020, there's absolutely no likelihood we're ever gonna get a resolution to the core story, let alone an explanation of who or what the G-Man truly is. He was a fascinating, compelling antagonist that will forever be an enigma. I bring this up to draw a comparison to Wonder Egg Priority, an anime that had the potential to go down in history as one of the greats, but flopped in the last inning by introducing a compelling villain and doing absolutely nothing with him. Wonder Egg Priority is a psychological horror series produced by CloverWorks, the studio behind such brilliant works as Darling in the Franxx, Persona 5 the Animation, and The Promised Neverland. If it wasn't painfully obvious, I say brilliant, but I mean they dropped the ball so hard, it fell through the Earth's crust, causing an ecological disaster the likes of which we've never seen before. It was written by Nojima Shinji, a veteran of the J-drama scene, having written works like You Are Tender When It Rains in 2017 and I Bought Boyfriend With Alone in 2018, but who is a newcomer to anime, while the director, Wakabayashi Shin, has taken on episodes of Attack on Titan, Working, and Eromanga Sensei. Wonder Egg follows Oto Ai, who is on break from school following a close friend's suicide. Ai is understandably distraught over this, but she's then introduced to a mysterious gachapon machine that dispenses Wonder Eggs and is connected to a strange world separate from her own. Inside each egg is a person who needs protection from a host of threats, and it's up to Ai to provide said protection. She's told that if she's able to keep enough egg girls safe, are cat girls not doing it for you any meow? Is the act of caring for your dog girls making your life rough? What about train girls? Those seem very high maintenance. Maybe you should try egg girls. With egg girls, not only do you get to avoid the pesky physical abnormalities that come with crossing a dog, a cat, or a train with a human woman, but you also get to keep your egg girl safe from a bunch of tiny gremlins with knives who want nothing more than to make your egg girl unalive. Give egg girls a try, and who knows, you might just bring your best friend who died by suicide back to life. In all seriousness, Wonder Egg Priority tackles some rough subjects, and because of that, it's gonna go down in anime history for speaking explicitly about topics that most titles only talk about implicitly. I am cognizant of the idea that criticizing such a work might not make me any friends, so let me be very clear on something. I enjoyed this series, for the most part. I don't think that you can truly say that you enjoy a work without acknowledging that it has flaws and blemishes. Wonder Egg Priority is no exception. I'll start by circling back to my Half-Life comparison. In Wonder Egg, a pair of mysterious people named Akka and Ura-Akka serve as the seemingly benevolent administrators of the Egg Girl experiment. As of their introduction, they appear to be ragdolls, but it's revealed they used to be human. That is, until they gave up their bodies to fulfill their life's purpose. It turns out, back then, Akka and Ura-Akka created an artificial human named Frill, who was unlike anything mankind had seen before. She had a personality and the capacity for jealousy, which drove her to kill Akka's wife, and eventually, his teenage daughter. It's not made clear how she was involved in his daughter's suicide, but she was involved somehow. Frill is destroyed, but Akka and Uraraka both notice an increase in 14-year-old girls dying by suicide, so they naturally draw the conclusion that Frill is involved. Frill is terrifying. I adore how the series presents her. She's not human, but she's close as all hell. In fact, all it takes to send shivers down my spine when it comes to Frill is something that anyone off the street might do. Anytime she pops her lips, I get goosebumps. I wanted to learn more about Frill, what she was all about, how she was connected to the events of Wonder Egg, but I had a bad feeling, since she wasn't introduced until the 11th episode, that the series was biting off more than it could chew in a single season. I felt it needed another 12 or 13 episodes to tell the story it was now telling. I was right. I just didn't know it yet. The final episode came and went, and I was left with this sour taste in my mouth. Is this really how they're choosing to end this? I asked. It felt like any ordinary episode. It didn't feel like a finale. I'd like to say I expected another season to be announced in the credits, but I really didn't. I hoped for the best, but expected the worst. And that's exactly what I got. No Frill, no answers, no resolution to the conflict, and even more questions. It was just a normal episode. It was then that we got some news that, while it may have lit a small flame of hope deep down in the abyss where my heart used to be, I had my doubts. In a couple of months, we would be getting one final episode that would properly conclude the story. In the lead up to Wonder Egg Priority's final episode, news broke that it would be an hour long. It was called a special edition episode, and something about that phrasing stole away any excitement I could have had for this replacement finale. Before I get into what the finale was or wasn't, I want to briefly expound on what I think it should have been were it to end satisfyingly. I think, considering the expanded runtime, it needed to be a full hour of new content. Give us answers to the pressing questions. How did ordinary humans, not affiliated with any world government, get their hands on the tech to create an AI that not only experiences jealousy, but can also create new life of her own? Speaking of, who or what the fuck is hyphen, dot, and Kirara Rodriguez matured 18 Evening Star SS Plum? If they could have explained how Akka and Uraraka ended up with the ability to bring people back to life, or how they managed to connect the egg world with the real one and vice versa, or how parallel existences tie into all of this, or why half of the scientific jargon just sounds like mysticism, that would have been fantastic. I also would have liked to know what the Warriors of Eros were, and how Frill was causing an increase in young girls dying by suicide, if she was indeed causing it in the first place. I think it would be fine if the writer or director were trying to cleverly keep things hidden or leave it to our imaginations, but when most of the core plot is a jumbled mess because of concepts they didn't bother to explain in a meaningful way, it ceases to be clever and turns into pure incompetence. So, based on my wording, you can tell this special edition episode had none of those things. It was an hour in length, but the first half was yet another series recap. I say another because the 8th episode was also a recap. In 13 episodes of Wonder Egg Priority, there were 2 series recaps. That's 15% if you're as bad at math as I am. It's fascinating. Not only did the finale not answer any of the questions I mentioned, but it also posed even more questions that will never be answered. I should clarify, some questions were answered, such as the reason Ai's friend died by suicide in the first place, which the series frames as an accident, utterly eradicating Koito's character in the process. It turns out, the various characters who Ai and her friends were working so hard to revive came back to life, but they have no memory of their death, nor do they remember being friends. I think this is the one element of the finale that's genuinely well written, as it offers up a price to be paid for bringing a soul back from the dead. I still have no idea how they were revived in the first place, but whatever. It's then that the finale goes off the rails and doesn't stop until the credits roll. It almost seems like they tried to fit several episodes into the span of 15 minutes, as it's revealed that one of Ai's friends, Neiru, was never real to begin with. She was an artificial human like Frill, who wanted to become human. A parallel version of Neiru's dead friend is now alive, for some reason. It's never explained how or why, it just is. Rika, another of Ai's friends who has been fighting to protect egg girls, decides she wants nothing to do with any of this, and both of them just yeet the fuck out of there. Ai is transferred to a different school, and we get a time skip of unknown length. Despite the fact that she practically gave up on Neiru, she's feeling nostalgic for the time they spent together and sprints back to Aka and Uraraka's place in order to buy a Wonder Egg. It's there where the series concludes, with Ai saying she will buy as many eggs as it takes in order to see Neiru again, despite Aka and Uraraka saying, in no uncertain terms, that the egg girls were girls who had died by suicide, and Neiru never existed at all, so she couldn't have died by suicide, and I am honestly over it. If you enjoyed Wonder Egg Priority from start to finish, I envy you. It was fantastic for the most part, but it suffered from a structural problem that ironically became irreversible with the introduction of its major antagonistic force. It's weird to say, but as much as I think Frill was a compelling foil for the protagonist to face off against, and as much as I wanted to see more from her creations, the series didn't have the time, nor the drive, to justify their involvement. If they had simply told Ai's story, and ended it with bringing Koito back, and if they hadn't bothered diving into the Aka and Uraraka backstory, there's a chance I wouldn't be making this video right now. It's got me wondering if it's for the best that we haven't the slightest who or what the G-Man is, as without a clear plan and the resources to execute said plan, who knows? In a parallel universe, that version of me might be ranting about how the G-Man was really the friendships we made along the way. It makes you think. Hey everybody, it's your boy Pixcelation. Thank you so much for watching this video. It feels really good to be in a new set, if you want to call it that. I'm hoping this is going to be the new kind of semi-permanent backdrop for any kind of live action segments and maybe other videos down the line. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm going to try not to anyway. I just got a few things I want to get off my chest. For anybody who has made it to this point, one, you are a lifesaver. Thank you so much. Please share this video with your friends. I'm having such a hard time getting my video past the algorithm censors, and I just really want more people to join the pixels, if you get my drift. So thank you very much for watching again. I'm gonna tell you thank you like 20 times in this one video alone. If you want to become a patron and join Napalm over here, you can do so by going to www.patreon.com/pixcelation, I think, or just search Pixcelation in the little search bar, or just go down to the description below and you'll find the link. And all you have to do is pledge $1 a month, and you'll get early access to new videos and all that jazz. But anyway, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. No pressure whatsoever. But go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go like me on Facebook, Twitter, all that jazz. I appreciate every single ounce of support at this point. And in the meantime, This has been Pixelation, reminding you, and every single person who has clicked on this video and made it to this point, to stay pixelated. I'll see you next time. Hey guys, so just finished Half-Life 3.